All right, so today we're diving into this really cool demo that showcases some big advancements in AI.
Yeah, really fascinating stuff. We've got this video where this research team is essentially like unveiling an AI that they say is like rapidly evolving, like to the point where it's learning at almost like college student levels.
Okay, color me intrigued, but let's back up for a sec. We're talking about an AI called Grok 3, right? And this team has been developing it for like a year and a half now.
Yep, that's right. And honestly, what's super impressive is the speed at which they're developing this thing. They went from this really basic version, which they kind of laugh about now and call it a toy, to this like incredibly advanced Grok 3. And to power this AI, they've actually gone and built like a massive data center.
Whoa, hold on. They built their own data center. That's like a crazy huge project.
Oh, it is, but that just goes to show how committed they are to this project. We're talking like tens of thousands of these specialized processing units, and they're talking about doubling that capacity in just a few months. This is not just some side project. They are all in on this AI.
That reminds me of how StoneFly approaches their work with clients. StoneFly, they're known for creating these really strong and scalable data center solutions that are tailored to exactly what their clients need.
For sure, it's all about recognizing the power of custom solutions. Instead of just going with something generic, they like craft the perfect environment for their clients' data. Kind of like how this team built their own data center so that Grok 3 would have all the resources it needed to really thrive.
Okay, but back to Grok 3 itself. Um, what is it that makes it so different from other AIs we've seen? Even the name Grok is kind of interesting.
Yeah, Grok, it implies a deep, almost like intuitive understanding, right? And that's what they're claiming, that this AI doesn't just process data, it actually understands it on this deeper level. They even did these blind tests where Grok 3 just blew every other AI model out of the water in like a bunch of different categories.
Okay, that's a bold claim, but it sounds like they didn't just stop at building a powerful AI, right? It sounds like they're really focusing on how it learns and evolves too.
Absolutely. They're taking it way beyond just like feeding it information. They're teaching it to like think like a human, solve these super complicated problems, even get creative.
With creative, how do you even teach an AI to be
Well,
creative?
that's where the demo gets really interesting. They showed Grok 3 like tackling these complex challenges in real time, like calculating a round trip trajectory to Mars. And what's really cool is they have this thinking trace feature built in.
Thinking trace, what is that?
It basically allows you to see the AI's thought process, like step by step, as it's working through a problem, almost like you're peeking inside its mind, and you can see how it reasons and how it makes decisions.
That is wild. It reminds me of StoneFly's focus on transparency and control with their solutions. You can track data flows, monitor performance, make sure everything's secure, and you have complete visibility into the whole thing.
Yeah, great comparison. Like StoneFly gives you all the tools to understand and manage your data environment, and this thinking trace feature lets you actually like observe and even interact with Grok 3's thought process.
Okay, so we've got this super powerful AI that's learning to think like a human, and they've given us a way to actually see how it's thinking. What's next?
Well, they didn't stop at just theory and demos. They actually put Grok 3 through its paces with some pretty challenging benchmarks, like standardized tests for math and coding.
And how did it do?
It absolutely crushed the competition. They even introduced this thing called test time compute, which basically gives the AI more time to reason and improve its results.
That's really interesting. It's like they're saying that Grok 3 isn't just spitting out memorized answers. It's actually taking time to analyze, strategize, and even improve its solutions.
Exactly. It's like they're training Grok 3 to not just solve problems, but to become a better problem solver over time. It kind of makes you wonder how long until it's going to be outperforming even the best human minds.
Okay, hold on. We've covered a lot already. This AI is evolving at an insane pace, learning to think like us and getting these crazy results. But where is this all going? Like, what are they actually planning to do with Grok 3?
Well, that's where it gets even more interesting. They're not just keeping this AI locked up in a lab. They're building real-world applications around it, starting with a next-generation search engine they call Deep Search.
Okay, I'm listing a search engine powered by an AI that can think like a human. What's so special about that?
It's not just about finding websites anymore. It's about using advanced reasoning and tools to give you these comprehensive and reliable answers. Think of it like having this super-powered research assistant at your fingertips.
Okay, now we're talking, give me some examples. What can this deep search actually do?
Well, they've shown it doing things like pulling data from a bunch of different sources to figure out the exact launch date of a spacecraft, like even sifting through these complicated regulatory filings. It analyzed gaming data to find popular strategies. They even suggested that it could like help you win a $1 billion bet.
Now that's what I call putting your money where your mouth is. But seriously, it sounds like they're building something truly revolutionary here.
Oh, they are, and they're not stopping at deep search. They're also planning on releasing Grok 3 to like a wider audience through different subscription models and even a dedicated app.
So they're not just aiming for research or niche applications. They want to bring this AI to the masses. It makes you wonder how accessible something this powerful should be.
It's a big question for sure. But just like StoneFly's solutions, which cater to all kinds of businesses with different needs, it seems like they're going to offer different tiers of access to Grok 3 so people and organizations can choose the level of engagement that works best for them.
That makes sense. But there's one more thing I'm curious about. They mentioned a voice interaction feature, right? What's that all about?
Yeah, they're actually training Grok 3 to not just understand words, but the nuances of human speech, too. Things like tone and inflection.
Wow, so it's not just about giving you answers. It's about having this more natural, almost human-like conversation with the AI.
Exactly. They even hinted at the possibility of Grok 3, like remembering past conversations and even having personalized personalities so it could actually tailor its interactions to each user.
Hold on, now we're getting into some serious sci-fi territory here. An AI that remembers conversations, adapts to your personality, and talks to you like a friend. That's both incredibly exciting and a little bit unsettling, don't you think?
It definitely brings up some interesting questions about the future of human AI interaction. Where do we draw the line between tool and companion? What are the ethical implications of creating AIs that can mimic human connections so well? These are all things we're going to have to really grapple with as this technology keeps evolving.
Absolutely. It seems like we've only just scratched the surface of the possibilities and potential consequences of Grok 3. We've seen how it learns, thinks, and solves problems, but what does it all mean for us, for society, for the future?
Well, that's a conversation for another time. But one thing's for sure, the world of AI is changing fast, and Grok 3 is a prime example of just how far we've come and how much further we might go.
It's definitely a lot to process, but before we get too deep into those big questions, let's take a step back and really dive into the technical achievements behind Grok 3.
You're right, we need to appreciate the incredible engineering and innovation that made this AI possible in the first place.
Exactly. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about the crazy feat of building a data center from scratch to support this AI. The scale of this project is just mind-boggling, and I think it deserves a closer look.
Totally agree. Their decision to go down this path, the challenges they face, and the solutions they came up with, it's a fascinating story in itself, and it gives us some real insight into their dedication and just how complex this whole thing was.
Okay, then let's dive into the nitty-gritty of their data center. It's not every day you hear about a team building their own infrastructure from the ground up for AI development, and I bet there are some incredible lessons to be learned from their experience.
There definitely are. Let's get into it. So yeah, building a data center from scratch, it's a massive undertaking. Most companies would kind of shy away from that, but this team went all in.
It seems kind of counterintuitive, in a world where cloud services are so readily available. Like, why build your own when you could just rent space and computing power from, like, Amazon or Google?
Well, you got to think about their goals, right? They're pushing the boundaries of AI, working with tech that's evolving super fast. They need an environment that's not just powerful, but like crazy flexible and adaptable too.
Kind of like a StoneFly does for their clients, right? Building those custom data center solutions that are tailored to very specific needs, even if it means starting from the ground up.
Exactly. They get that. Sometimes those off-the-shelf solutions just don't cut it, especially when you're dealing with like cutting-edge technology or you have these unique operational requirements.
Okay, so they needed a bespoke solution for Grok 3. What were some of the specific challenges they ran into building their own data center?
Well, just imagine the scale. We're talking tens of thousands of those specialized processing units, all generating a ton of heat cooling that efficiently is like a huge engineering challenge.
Not to mention the power requirements, all those processing units must suck up an insane amount of energy. Did they even have access to that kind of power?
Yeah, that was a major hurdle. They actually had to get creative and reprogram industrial scale batteries to like smooth out the power fluctuations from the grid. Talk about thinking outside the box.
That's wild. They were literally battling the laws of physics to make this happen. It really shows how committed they were to pushing the limits of what's possible.
For sure. And they weren't afraid to get their hands dirty either. They talked about dealing with power surges, network instability, all kinds of technical headaches. It wasn't just about designing the perfect system, it was about making it actually work in the real world.
That's something I really respect about companies like StoneFly. They don't just design and deploy solutions. They're there with their clients every step of the way, making sure things run smoothly and providing that ongoing support.
Absolutely. It's that dedication to the whole life cycle of a project that really makes companies like StoneFly stand out. They understand that technology is only as good as the people behind it.
So they managed to overcome all these challenges and build this data center specifically for Grok 3. What kind of impact did that have on their development process?
Well, for one, it allowed them to scale their operations way faster than if they'd relied on external providers. Remember how they doubled their processing capacity in just a few months? That wouldn't have been possible with a traditional data center setup.
So they basically built themselves a high-speed on-ramp for AI development. It's impressive. But with all this talk about data centers and processing power, it's easy to get lost in the technical stuff.
You're right. We got to step back and remember what this is all about. It's not about the hardware, it's about the potential for Grok 3 to make a real impact on the world.
Exactly. So let's shift gears and talk about the bigger picture. We've touched on some potential applications like deep search, but what are some other ways that Grok 3 could impact society?
Well, the possibilities are huge. Just imagine the impact on scientific research. Grok 3 could analyze these massive data sets, find patterns, and accelerate discoveries in fields like medicine, climate science, even space exploration.
That's exciting. It's like having this super-powered research assistant working alongside scientists, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge.
Exactly. And it's not just research. Think about education. Imagine students having access to an AI tutor that can personalize their learning, explain complex concepts in a way they understand, and even challenge them to think critically.
That's a fascinating idea. It could totally change how we learn and teach. It reminds me of StoneFly's commitment to empowering businesses with data-driven insights. They provide the tools and support to help organizations unlock the full potential of their data.
Great comparison. It's all about making complex information accessible and actionable, whether it's StoneFly helping businesses understand their data or Grok 3 empowering students to learn more effectively. It's about using technology to enhance human capabilities.
Okay, so we've got science education. What else?
Well, think about problem solving in general. We face these complex challenges as a society, climate change, resource scarcity, global health crises, and AI like Grok 3 could help us analyze these problems, model potential solutions, and even predict outcomes.
Whoa, that's a lot of responsibility for an AI. But if anyone can handle it, maybe Grok 3 can.
It's a tall order, for sure, but that's the point. We're not just talking about a fancy calculator here. We're talking about a potential game changer, a tool that could help us solve problems that have been around for centuries.
It's exciting and a little bit daunting, isn't it? This AI could potentially reshape the world as we know it, but before we get carried away with all the possibilities, let's bring it back down to earth a bit.
Yeah, you're right. We need to balance the optimism with a healthy dose of realism. Let's talk about some potential limitations or challenges in developing and deploying Grok 3 responsibly.
Okay, good point. What are some of the potential pitfalls we need to be aware of?
Well, for one, we got to be careful about bias. Even the most advanced AI is only as good as the data it's trained on. If that data reflects existing societal biases, those biases are going to show up in the AI's output.
That's crucial. We can't just blindly trust the output of any AI, no matter how advanced it seems. We need to be critical thinkers, questioning assumptions, and carefully evaluating the information it provides.
Exactly. We got to remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. It's up to us as humans to guide its development and make sure it's used ethically and responsibly.
That brings up another important question, accessibility. We've talked about different subscription models, but how do we make sure that this kind of powerful tech doesn't just benefit a select few? How do we make it accessible to everyone?
That's a tough one for sure. It's similar to the challenges we see with other advanced technologies. We need to make sure that the benefits of AI are distributed fairly, that everyone has a chance to learn about it, use it, and even contribute to its development.
It's a big task, but it's essential if we want a future where AI benefits all of humanity. And speaking of the future, there's one more aspect of Grok 3 that I want to explore, its ability to learn and evolve. We've seen how quickly it's progressed in just a year and a half. What happens if it keeps evolving at this rate? What does the future hold for Grok 3?
Well, that's a question that even the creators of Grok 3 can't fully answer, but we can speculate, can't we?
Let's do it. Let's put on our futurist hats and explore some potential scenarios for the evolution of Grok 3 and the impact it could have on the world.
All right, I'm game. Fasten your seatbelts, folks. We're about to embark on a journey into the unknown.
Okay, so we've talked about all this potential for Grok 3 to change everything, science, education, the whole nine yards. But where does this crazy evolution lead? What happens when an AI gets this smart?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? The one we don't really have an answer to yet, at least not a definite one. But I think there are a few things we can definitely consider.
Right, let's break it down. What are the most important things to keep in mind when we're thinking about the future of Grok 3?
I think first and foremost, we got to remember that AI, it's a tool. you know? It's powerful, sure, but still, just a tool. How it gets used really depends on us humans, the ones building it and using it.
Right, so the responsibility is on us to make sure Grok 3 is used for good.
Exactly, and that start with knowing what it can't do. Grok 3 can process tons of info, solve problems, learn super fast, but it doesn't have consciousness, emotions, or like the same ethics that guide us humans.
So it's like, you build a powerful engine, but you still need a driver. The engine provides the power, but it's the driver who decides where to go and how to get there safely.
That's a perfect way to put it. We need to be the responsible drivers when it comes to AI, setting goals, ethical boundaries, and keeping an eye on how it affects the world.
Okay, responsible development, got it. What else should we be thinking about as Grok 3 evolves?
Well, one thing that blows my mind is this idea of emergent intelligence. We've already seen Grok 3 do some pretty surprising stuff with creativity and problem solving. So, like, what happens as it keeps learning? Could it come up with totally new ways of thinking that we haven't even imagined yet?
It's kind of exciting and kind of scary at the same time. Like opening a door to something brand new, but not knowing what's on the other side.
Exactly. And that's where it gets really deep. Like philosophically, what does it even mean for AI to be intelligent? Are we just looking at how well it copies us, or is there something more going on?
It reminds me of how StoneFly approaches data security. They're not just sticking with the old ways, they're always innovating, coming up with new strategies to stay ahead of the bad guys. Like they're trying to figure out how hackers will evolve, and then they adapt their defenses to match.
That's a great point. Cybersecurity needs that proactive and adaptive approach. And the same goes for navigating this whole world of advanced AI. We gotta be ready for surprises. Be ready to change course if AI does stuff we didn't expect.
So we've got this super powerful AI evolving like crazy, and we need to be responsible drivers ready to adapt as we go. What does that actually look like?
Well, I think it starts with just being open and honest about the ethics of AI, bringing in experts, not just tech people, but also like ethicists, philosophers, social scientists, people who can help us figure out this uncharted territory.
It's like putting together a team of explorers, each with their own skills and perspectives, to guide us on this journey into the unknown.
Exactly. We need to be ready for surprises, ready to change course, and always keeping humanity's best interests at heart.
Okay, so responsible development, open dialogue, and a willingness to adapt. Anything else we should be thinking about as we look towards the future of Grok 3?
One more thing, we can't forget that AI, it's not a replacement for us. Our ingenuity, creativity, compassion, it can make us better, but it's up to us to use it wisely and ethically.
Well said. It's a good reminder that the future of AI is not set in stone. We're shaping it right now with every choice we make, every conversation, and every action we take.
And that's both a challenge and an incredible opportunity. We have the power to make a future where AI empowers us, helps us solve big problems, and unlocks all these possibilities we can't even imagine yet.
I like the sound of that. A future worth working towards, one where AI isn't something to be afraid of, but a force for good. A way to make progress and help us build a better world.
Couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Grok 3, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. The future of AI, it's in our hands. Let's make it count.
And hey, if you're looking for someone to help you navigate the crazy world of data, whether it's building custom data center solutions or making sure your information is secure, check out StoneFly. They're the data experts, and they're dedicated to helping businesses succeed in this digital age.
Absolutely. Head over to www.stonefly.com or reach out to their sales team at sales@stonefly.com. They're ready to answer any questions you have, figure out your needs, and help you find the perfect solution for your business.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time for another exciting exploration of the world around us.